What's up, fellas? It's time to talk about the best striker in every UFC division. Who's a demon on the feet? Who's finishing everybody put in front of him? What makes a good striker? Let's answer that question first. You gotta have technique. If you're an Ilia Topuria type boxer on the feet, you have crazy technique. You need to have finishing ability. You could be the greatest striker in the world, but if you're going to a decision every single time, those fights could be looked at as somewhat close. I want to see some finishing ability when talking about the best strikers in the UFC. And how deep is that Duffy? How deep is that Duffy? If you got some crazy kicks, you know what I mean. How deep is the goddamn Duffy? Let's get into it. Let's start with the Flyweight division. I have Manel Kape. Now, the Flyweight division is elite. It's underrated. Everybody's got technique. Everybody's fast. But at their best, who is the best striker when everybody's performing at an elite level? It's Manel Kape, man. This dude, when he's in his flow state, he looks like Anderson Silva. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's a lot of guys you could throw into this hat. Brandon Moreno, one of the best boxers in the UFC. His kicks are solid as well. Kai Kara-France, good kickboxer, has a lot of power, dangerous in the pocket. And Brandon Royval, this man is the most underrated fighter. He's the most underrated fighter in the UFC. Brandon Royval, maybe not the most technical striker, not to the level of Moreno, France, Kape, but he's got a lot of power, and it works for him. But I gotta put Manel Kape as the best striker in the Flyweight division. He has boxing. His kickboxing is absolutely elite. When this man gets into his flow state, he is stupid good. He's so dangerous in the pocket. He has a ton of power. He's finally living up to that potential because Manel Kape is so skilled, and there were fights where he was, if that makes sense. But he's finally reaching that potential. He's fighting this weekend. I want him to put on an incredible performance. And if he wins this weekend against Asu Almabayev, maybe he fights in a number one contenders fight. Maybe he has a title shot because Pantoja's lapping the division. Pantoja's absolutely lapping the division. So we need some fresh faces because he did beat Manel Kape, but I want to see Manel Kape get the title fight. If anyone is to beat Alexandre Pantoja, it is Manel Kape. He's got great scrambling ability, dangerous in the pocket, amazing striker, as I said. He's the best striker in the Flyweight division. Bantamweight division, shit gets a little tricky. I went with Sean O'Malley. Honorable mentions to Umar Nurmagomedov, maybe the most underrated striker in the UFC right now. He would have probably beat Merab Dvalishvili if his cardio was a little bit better. Umar's kicks are elite. Maybe the fastest head kick I've seen in UFC history. Most underrated striker. He's good inside the pocket. He's dangerous, has power. Petr Yan, the best bantamweight we've ever seen. This man is so technical, has power, has a crazy deep Duffy. You could put Petr Yan as the best striker in the bantamweight division, but when you're talking about Jan's Duffy, it goes further than just the striking, man. His offensive wrestling is elite. His trips, his takedowns, elite. This is what Petr Yan does to me. I'm getting sidetracked. And then Corey Sandhagen, I don't think is on the level of a Petr Yan and a Sean O'Malley, but he is very technical. He's got a pretty deep Duffy with the flying knees, everything like that. But I did go with Sean O'Malley because has a ton of power. His technique is there. He's an amazing kickboxer. 1-2 is there. Distance management is very, very good. His defensive striking is very, very good. He doesn't really get hurt at all on the feet. He's kind of just a very unique kickboxer. I can't really compare him to anybody else in the UFC. Maybe you could compare him to like an Israel Adesanya, but Izzy in his prime did more work in the pocket. Sean is more of an outside fighter, but technique is flawless almost. 1-2 is there. The kickboxing is there. Distance management is what really puts him above for me. He knows his reach. He knows how to control the octagon. Sean O'Malley, for me, is the best bantamweight or the best striker in the bantamweight division. And out of everybody in the division, he's probably the only guy that can beat Merab Dvalishvili right now because his style of striking as this sniper is the way to beat Merab. But nobody beats Merab. He's a goddamn cheat code. Next up, the Featherweight division. We've had somebody exit the Featherweight division, and that, clears up space for Alexander Volkanovski, the best striker in the Featherweight division. Max Holloway is also a lightweight. Honorable mentions, you could go a lot of different places. Yair Rodriguez, very technical. Giga Chikadze is an underrated kickboxer, very underrated. And Diego Lopez isn't as technical as Yair and Giga, but dangerous in the pocket, has a lot of power, somewhat tight with his boxing combinations, but I'm going with Alexander Volkanovski. I don't care that this man got slept on 2 separate occasions against Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria. Maybe those guys are better strikers right now, but Prime Volkanovski is a top 3 striker in UFC history, and I don't think he's that far removed from being that great striker. I think he's going to put on an absolute clinic against Diego Lopez. I think he probably finishes Diego Lopez in the later rounds. He's so good. Distance management, elite. The boxing combinations, the 1-2, the hooks inside the pocket. Now, he doesn't have the craziest power, but the ability to just pick apart his opponent at range is so good. His fight IQ really helps him as a striker because he isn't the most powerful guy. He isn't the biggest guy in the world. He doesn't have the craziest reach, but he's just elite, man. I don't know what else to say. I'm kind of rambling, but it's the truth. Alexander Volkanovski, the best featherweight striker right now. I don't need to talk about Volk much longer. In the lightweight division, it gets stacked. We got the likes of Islam Makhachev, Ilia Topuria, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier. But I went with Ilia Topuria, the best boxer in UFC history. Honorable mentions, Islam Makhachev, one of the most underrated strikers in the UFC right now. I went with Max Holloway, underrated striker. No, not underrated striker. He's not an underrated striker. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. And I also went with Joel Alvarez. This dude is scary. He might be fighting Benoit Saint Denis. I pray for Benoit. I pray for Benoit. I pray for Benoit. I pray for Benoit. Because Joel Alvarez, this man's a technical wizard on the feet. He's got like a 97% finish rate. He's going to be a top contender one day. He's still young. I think he gets there in the next few years. I would love to see him fight Justin Gaethje on short notice now that Dan Hooker is out. How awesome would that fight be? But I went with Ilia Topuria because he's the best boxer in UFC history. The technique that this man has is unlike anything I've ever seen. Pure hands, he's got the best hands in UFC history, and I don't think it's particularly close. The ability to go from the body to the head in the pocket, the tight boxing combinations, the hooks, everything. He's such a good striker, and he doesn't even use his kicks that much. I don't think he's ever thrown a body kick or a head kick in his UFC career, and he is still this good on the feet. The finishing ability is there. He's got some of the craziest shot power in UFC history, and his kicks are good. His low kicks are really good when he uses them. He was chopping Max Holloway's leg. He was chopping Volk's head. If he just mixes in the light kicks a little bit more, he's going to be so well-rounded. Maybe he's not the most well-rounded kickboxer because he's a very, boxing-heavy style, but when you're this good at boxing, you got to be the best striker in your division. It's not even fair. I think he knocks out Islam Makhachev. I think he knocks out or submits or finishes every lightweight on the roster. Call me crazy. I get called on my TikTok. Go follow me on there. Same name as on here. I almost have 40,000 followers. I get called the Topuria Glazer. Oh, you glaze Topuria too much. I don't glaze Topuria. I speak the truth. This man, call me crazy all you want, but in 3, 4, 5 years, people could be calling this man the greatest fighter of all time. He might have the best skill set we've ever seen. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Let's move on to the welterweight division. I have Michael Venom Page. In pure striking, the purest form of striking, Michael Venom Page is a demon. This man's a demon. I think he would box the head off or outstrike guys like Sean Strickland, even guys at middleweight. Now, he is staying in the welterweight division. Honorable mentions to Leon Edwards, Joaquin Buckley, Carlos Prates. There's other guys in there. JDM's a good boxer. But at pure striking, it's not the most technical thing in the world. He's not an Ilia Topuria type boxer, but it just works. And it works to the highest level. He's a point fighter, fights from the outside, dashes in, dashes out. It works. It's insane. It's broken. Let's move on. Michael Venom Page is that guy. Middleweight. Now, middleweight's a little bit tough because you could go with the Israel Adesanya's. Okay, he looks great in every one of his fights, but then he kind of just gets caught, so I didn't really want to put him there. Robert Whittaker, Sean Strickland, all right. I went with Nasruddin Imavov. Honorable mentions to Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya, Kyle Baralhio is an underrated striker, and Robert Whittaker, is absolutely in this conversation. I went with a guy that knocked out Israel Adesanya because he's just a tough striker to fight against. He's tight in his combinations. He's a good boxer, good kickboxer, has a chin, has power. Now, he's not the fast. He actually is fast. I don't know what I'm saying. He's not the flashiest striker in the world, but it works for him. He's kind of like Sean Strickland a little bit, but I like his striking more than Sean Strickland. He does more than Sean Strickland. He's on the front foot more. He has really good power. There's something about it. It scratches that itch for me. Nasruddin Imavov's his striking. There's something about it, people, and I really like it. So I think he's the best striker in the middleweight division right now. Light heavyweight division, Alex Pereira. I was about to just skip on to the next thing, but yeah, Alex Pereira, the best striker in UFC history, in my opinion. And the craziest thing about Alex Pereira is you can look at his first fight in the UFC compared to now. At the ripe age of like 36, 37, he's getting better. He's getting better at striking. How? How is he getting better at striking? He's not as predictable on the feet. His striking defense is much better. He's not as susceptible to the 1-2 that Israel Adesanya exposed. This man's an absolute demon at light heavyweight. It's ridiculous. Shout out to Yuri Prohaska, Khalil Roundtree, Alexander Rakic. There's other guys in that conversation, Nikita Krylov, maybe Volkan Ozdemir, but there's really no competition. I think he's the best offensive striker we've seen in UFC history, best calf kick in UFC history, best left hook. His power is stupid. I want to talk about how insane. I was gonna say something. I said it in a TikTok, but I forget. But Alex Pereira's damn power is ridiculous. That's what I'm trying to say. He's so technical. His leg kick, you can't even see it coming. He's just the best, man. Imagine this man didn't join the UFC. Where would we be? Where would the middleweight division be? Where would the light heavyweight division be? Where would the UFC be in general? Because this man has put the goddamn company on his back. I think he's the best striker in the light heavyweight division. No. He is the best striker in the light heavyweight division and the best striker in the heavyweight division. Surprisingly, I went with Tom Aspinall. Now, honorable mention to Cyril Gane, Volkov, and maybe Jones. Cyril Gane, I've said it in the past, he's the best striker we've seen in UFC history, or in heavyweight history. He's so technical on the feet, but I can't look past him almost getting knocked out to Tai Tuivasa, who has lost 6 fights in a row. He beat up Derek Lewis, okay, and he is very technical. And he looks great from the outside, but if these guys had to go in a pure striking battle, Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane, I think Tom Aspinall would finish him. I really do. Now, he's not as good of a kickboxer as Cyril Gane, but his boxing is much better, has a lot of power. His 1-2 is much better. Who I trust on the feet the most in an MMA fight right now, it's Tom Aspinall, man. It is Tom Aspinall. This man's the best heavyweight we've ever seen. I think he finishes Jones. I think he finishes Volkov. He already did. I think he finishes Cyril Gane. He's the best heavyweight in the goddamn world. Like, subscribe, do all that. What did I mess up? What did I get right? Let me know. Like, subscribe, do all that. Said it 4 times. Like, subscribe. Peace out.